Today we have Rajiv Khilnani, and thanks, Rajiv, for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me, Todd.
Very pleased that you could make the time to talk to us about your creativity and your passion. And just a note of introduction, Rajiv and I met probably 6 or 7 years ago up in Cupertino. Well, actually, you came in, I believe, to do a demo at the Fine Arts League of Cupertino Club.
Yeah, that is correct. I'm sure. Yeah, I met you there, but I also then afterwards, I think the more of the connection was at the Santa Clara, the Trident Museum Festival.
Right.
So it was one after the other,
Yeah.
the same.
I've enjoyed connecting with you often and talking about abstract art and following your progression of your career. Now you're also you're in the Hollywood area. You're an actor and an artist.
That is correct. I mean, my passion for art was definitely much longer than the acting. Art I've been doing for almost 30 years, and then acting has been in the last 15 years, I would say, between commercial modeling and then eventually transitioning into acting, where I could come down to Los Angeles and pursue it at the Hollywood level has been in the last 4 years.
Great. I remember you visited us recently, and later my daughter said, I recognize him from somewhere. Where have I seen him before? And she remembers one of the videos. I think it was the college humor videos or such.
So funny because yeah, it's interesting at that generation.
Yep.
People have seen me up there. Ironically, there's a similar situation. My nephew goes to Chapman, and so we were having a summer break in San Diego. My niece is down there too, and my nephew came down, and his 2 or 3 classmates came down there as well. From different colleges, and they were all there, and I was supposed to give them a ride, and suddenly I hear a shriek from one of the kids at the back in my car, and I said, "What happened?" I said, "Oh, I recognize you." I said, "What do you mean you recognize me?" He said, "Oh, I saw you as a funny college humor." I said, "Yes, you're right. So that was me."
Awesome. Well, that's a very interesting career. I mean, it's great to see your progress in that area. Um, I'm mainly focusing here today on your art, which I think is also fascinating. And those are 2 pieces behind you. Uh, what would call it? A diptych, because it's 2 pieces that go together.
Yeah, I mean, the intention wasn't, I think mostly when people do diptychs, the intention, some people make a conscientious effort to do diptych that they're connected, so you can't see one piece in isolation as the other. But the idea is these 2 abstracts they have the similar tone, the similar technique, and the similar subject matter,
Yep.
but you can always view them in isolation. So I don't know if I answered your question correctly because I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, they look great together. So I'm curious about, has art always been sort of your career, or did you start off in another profession and then decide to switch over?
Um, well, I mean, make it quick. My art journey started almost in 1992 after high school.
Mm.
And the idea was for me to, uh, after high school, I was planning to come to United States for my undergraduate degrees, but then I didn't get my student visa. So I was looking to do something, and I discovered art there. And then it started as a hobby, but then I got into uh, uh, I was lucky to find a teacher, a mentor who really put her heart and soul into teaching me, and then transitioned into shows back home, and was able to exhibit in galleries. But it was never my full-time profession. Even when I was pursuing art fairly successfully back home in Pakistan, where I was represented in galleries, I was tutoring kids in mathematics as well, because I knew that, and I was also pursuing a part-time degrees after my undergraduate degree and my master, my MBA. But art I could also do on the side.
Mm,
And then when I came to USA in 2000, I I came at a dot-com bust, so
mm.
just random stuff, and then eventually I started working full time and but continued art. And then I found in a new country, new environment, just trying to get my bearings. And then I think for 2, 3 years in US, I stopped painting. And then once I was settled, then I discovered the Fine Arts League of Cupertino, and that's when I started getting involved in the art scene in the United States again continuing with my full-time job. And but I what had then in 2013, when I made the decision that I wanted to pursue an entertainment career as well, that's when I quit my 9 to 5, and then I made entertainment and fine arts as my two careers.
Do those two careers, are you able to balance them time-wise pretty well? Schedule around things, and I imagine so, because art is sort of like, you can do it anytime as long as you're motivated to do it at that time.
Yes, at this point in my career, it's very easy to balance both of them, because it's not that hopefully things will change, but I'm not like cast on a full-time project for film and television where my time needs to be there 12, 14 hours a day on set for multiple weeks. I have my few small projects in the entertainment, but then I have my downtime to do my art as well, and do it consistently. That's a good thing, because now I at least can paint 5 days a week, 6 days a week. Before, with a full-time job,
Yeah,
that possible.
yeah. That's what I juggle, is trying to do art outside of a full-time job, and makes me disciplined to really try and schedule time. But it's all a big balancing act.
It is a big balancing act, and the challenge also is that I don't have like a phenomenal art studio where I can just walk into the nighttime and paint as well. It's just logistics at this point for me. So I have to paint during the daytime, when the natural light is there and everything works well. Um,
Yeah.
but with it lends very well, because I can do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, without further ado, I'd like to show everyone here your art. Let me share my screen, and maybe you can talk us through, your Instagram page. Let me go to the top here. So Rajiv Khilnani is your Instagram name, and very colorful. You've got a lot of posts out here. I will open the floor to let you talk about any of it. I am just really interested in all of it, but I'll say this one recent piece that you posted here, I love it.
oh, cool. So as you can see from my Instagram page, I've loved to play with colors. I've been known as a colorist. But I mean, my hardest thing is ever to paint with white. So I guess it comes from my culture. As far as this piece is concerned, again, uh, it's unique in the sense that I don't paint too often on wood panels, and this is one of the only piece 24 by 36 that is on wood panel. And you, I used to be a watercolorist when I started my art career. For the longest time, uh, I loved doing watercolors, which meant that I did a lot of layering techniques,
Mhm.
and that I transitioned into my acrylic works as well. So I like to, as you can see from this piece, I love to create layers
Mm.
and create textures. I prefer my surface, my finished piece, to have a grittiness to it. And so I build up those textures, those uneven surfaces, and then I start layering paint on top of that.
Yeah.
And so this prime example, if you look closely, that it has the whites, the ochres, the oranges, the red tones, and then finally I finished it off with touches of white. And since I like to also create design elements and pattern, it was fun when I was doing the white. I had this comb sitting in front of me, more of, not necessarily a comb. I had this brush, textured brush that I got. So once I was layering white, and then suddenly I picked that up and I literally went um, combing around that white to get those, that's the spread, the design elements that were coming into that. And because the wood surface was hard, it
Yeah.
was much for me to do it.
Yeah, I was going to mention you the difference between a wood surface and a canvas shows up pretty well in flat areas, like some of those red areas. It's because it's just a solid, nice color across. You don't see some of the grittiness that you would see in a canvas. I love to paint on wood as well. I think this is awesome. Um,
Thank you.
Let me go back, you allowed me to pick which one I wanted you to talk about. I'm going to open it up to what you want to talk about.
As, I mean, as you can see, my theme has been red the last few. I wouldn't say it's predominantly red, but I somehow have been gravitating towards reds in general. This piece, the red in the middle,
Hmm.
yeah, this one, I've gotten a lot of compliments for this one as well, because what I've been able to achieve with this piece is that literally using shades of red only, and with a little bit of silver in it, I've been able to, little bit of silver and blue in it, I've been able to finish this piece. And it's like it's people, I mean, it relates to as if it's the fabric from India,
Yeah. Mm.
with the rich uh, wedding occasion, the maybe an Indian sari, or whatever it is. It's just has this the vibrancy in it, and the fact that with jewels attached to it in terms of the silvers
Yeah.
that
And
glows
the,
and the in it. But this was done on canvas, so it's interesting how sometimes you can get two different good results on two different surfaces.
yeah. I love I'm actually a little bit red green colorblind, so I'm probably seeing it different than most people's would see it, but it's still vibrant to me. And I love like in the upper center, the sort of the orangish red on top of the darker red, sort of the crimson red, and then you've got blues peeking through. That's just a very pleasant piece, even though it's bright. it's it's to me, it's very calming and beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, um,
Aw-
you now can pick up whatever ones you want to discuss.
Okay, let me see something a little different. I notice a lot of your works on paper are more of the curvy style here, like this one in the center.
Yes, it's a very interesting because I'm sharing my secret on how these curvy pieces land up. They're generally byproducts of my larger pieces, in the sense that when I have a canvas going, or uh, and when I'm layering my canvas, sometimes I plan on putting excess paint on the canvas. So when I'm scraping and scratching and lifting that paint up from my canvas, I don't know where to put it, and I don't want it to go to waste. So I
Mm.
have my paper, watercolor paper, sitting right next to me. So I start layering the paper with that leftover paint, and then, but I make sure that I, most of the time, I'm creating curves on the paper. So
Mm.
then when I'm done with uh, my painting the on canvas, then I have something else to finish, which is generally, but these paintings on paper, the curvy ones, are a byproduct of maybe two or three large paintings that I've done and finished. But because of that additional paint that was would have gone to waste, would have dried up,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
paper.
It's really beautiful. What I love this. It's sort of three-dimensional in that you've got sort of curves over curves in the same shape, and then you've got disrupting curves that sort of break up a pattern. And I've been thinking about that a lot. Is like you start a motion in a painting or a shape, and then you break it up with something on top, and then just keep layering that in. And I find that just so interesting. Like this is the kind of painting that I could I would not get tired of. You know, I could look at it for a long time, and I think that's what I kind of love about most abstracts. Not all of them, some abstracts I don't get, but this is wonderful stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with you because it creates the depth, and then every time you can look at it and find something different or new.
Yeah. The This picture here is amazing because that green just screams at me like a wonderful like a jungle forest or something.
Yeah, it has textures and stuff like that. So this was one of my open studios at the Brewery Artist Loft in Los Angeles, and so both the pieces, the green one, and even the one past the red one, the yellow ochre one, they were both technically my experimental pieces.
Mm,
Uh, because not only in terms of them being long rather than wide, but also mm, I have I don't generally use green too much in my works, and but I kind of wanted to challenge myself to create these, excuse me, unique images where there's a different color combination that I'm using. So trying to use the greens with those oranges
yep.
uh, is was something out of my comfort zone, to be honest. And then sometimes you just go ahead and do stuff that you're comfortable with. But this was one of those paintings that I wasn't sure what it's going to turn out to be, but it turned out to be great. And I think if you go on my Instagram, you will be able to find the just the that particular image in itself. The, I think it's further down right there.
The green one
Yeah,
there.
right there.
Oh, now I can see what you're talking about. The oranges up towards the top. Hmm.
Yeah,
Huh.
just trying to do two different uh, colors palettes that I've never used, although I don't use often, was interesting.
A lot of
Hmm.
people, a lot of people that aren't familiar with the artist's frame of mind would. I hear them often ask, "That would be so hard. Like, how do you know where to start?" And what you and but what you're saying, and I get it, is that sometimes it's just great to like dabble and play. And we both know James Ong. I love James's art, and he's constantly telling other artists, just play with it, just start smacking paint down on the and just play around with it. And I get that, like typically green and orange probably wouldn't go together, but in that painting it seems to have nice harmony there.
Actually, on the color spectrum, green and orange make the perfect complementary colors
Hmm.
to create striking images. That's what when you're painting, they always suggest to pick on the color spectrum the most
Compliment.
opposite
Yeah.
complementary colors, and to create so which is what played in my mind when I was trying to do the green and oranges. But generally, what I was trying to say was green is something that I don't generally gravitate towards. My like more earth blues and reds have been my preferred colors. Green has always been one of those tough colors for me to paint in because I've never sure on how it will look in terms of the rawness in greens, the viridian greens and all. But like I didn't want my works to look like amateurish works, which I always felt when I painted in with green were more along those lines because it was a difficult color for me to handle. But James is right because now that I paint in acrylic mediums mostly, and I don't do watercolors, I anybody who's doing oils and acrylics has that flexibility to just keep on pouring layers, adding layers, and experimenting and coming and evolving and discovering whatever comes out of that combination of layers, which you cannot do in watercolors,
Right.
because one mistake you're done.
Yep.
So so that's what has always been my uh, technique in painting, because I know I will be able to salvage a painting even if
Yeah.
those that I poured are not going to work.
Exactly. And I've said this a number of times. People ask, like, again, they sort of get stuck, and there is this mental block that once you put something down and you've created it, um, you don't want to sort of destroy it by putting something over the top of it, or people get a little afraid of, well, it looks okay, but what if I ruin it, right? And I think if you have this mindset of, if you screw it up the second time, then put something the third time, and then go the fourth time. Just keep building on it, you know?
And people don't realize that I still remember about 7, 8 years ago, I had this piece that I had it on open studios in the Bay Area that I sold. And the lady who purchased it, I believe she is an art collector. I mean, in in that neighbor, she was walking with her mother in the neighborhood, and she just popped in, and she came up to that. She said, my idea wasn't to buy the paintings. I was just looking, but I see this your work and this particular piece. If you continue at this level,
Mm,
uh, uh, you will definitely make a mark in the art market in LA, in America. Now it's just like I wish I could run with that what she said, because
yeah.
sometimes you create pieces you don't know how you did them. But I know what she was talking. Now that I reflect on the conversation, I know what she was talking about, because it was, I had poured so many layers into it because of my mistakes, because every time I tried to finish I wasn't happy. But using opaque paints, using translucent paints, and transparent acrylic paints, I was able to create this very unique painting, which had built up layers on it
Yeah.
that you
Yeah. So like
see
if
back
there if say there was 10 layers, you're going to have elements of each 10 layers showing up somewhere in the piece.
in somewhere in the piece. Yeah,
Yeah.
between lucent and the transparent and the
Yeah.
opaque. Yeah. Um, so I that always I think the biggest challenge I've had, but not now. As I said, was I wasn't painting consistently.
Mm,
And you see all established artists, people who are at the height of their art careers, uh, around across the world, they spend like hours
yeah.
in their studios creating works, and which I think is because it's like in any career. It's whether it's entertainment or whether even to become a best medical professional, you have to spend hours practicing,
Yep.
training to evolve, discover, and get better.
Yep. And the ones that are really passionate about it will break through from the crowd because they just love doing it anyway. It's
That
not
is,
a chore. It's not a discipline. It's just I love to do it.
yeah, I love to do it. Persistence. It's all about. I mean, you can have the talent, but
Yeah.
talent can only go so far. You have to be
Right.
persistent. You have to be ready to fight.
Right. So where do you see this going in the future? Do you have any future specific goals with art or?
Um, one of the, of course, one of the immediate goals is to start painting big,
Yep.
and I've already set up. What do you call it? I've already started working towards it, because I did some major shopping in December, buying some large canvases, uh, consistently painting large, 40 by 60, 36 by 72. If I had the logistics, I would even go bigger in terms of transportation and stuff like that, or my setup, but at least. So that's my goal to start with. So, and then objective is to start building a body of work. I mean, while my work is evolving, the quality of work is evolving. I sometimes feel I have a challenge of consistency of style. I have these two dominant styles that are going side by side, and I am struggling to commit to one. But then suggested, why do you have to just commit to one? You can have both of them going at the same time, and you get enough body of work in both styles that you have 40-50 pieces in one style and 40-50 pieces in the other style.
Exactly. I'm in the same boat but I think I have like 7 or 8 styles I've been dabbling in, and I keep going back and forth. But I absolutely, like, this is the year I want to build a body of work around abstract, and I also want to go big. So maybe we can trade notes on that as we go forward.
That sounds great. Yeah, I mean, it is the challenge. I mean, a lot of people get intimidated with big stuff, and I think for you and me, we have no reason to be intimidated because we've been painting long enough to know. Because I have a friend who's just gotten into art, and he was talking about, oh, how do you paint such large pieces? It's so scary and intimidating. I said, no, it's just about experience. Once you get to that point of getting comfortable with paint and your environment, big stuff will automatically come. And the style is what I just have to smack myself into sticking to. Consistency.
Well, as long as you keep it fun, you'll get it. It'll work itself out, I believe.
I believe so too. Yeah, I mean, that's the important thing. I mean, art is now a career. Like for the longest time, it was always a serious hobby because I had a 9 to 5, but now it's a career. So I have to figure out whatever, from a business perspective, what needs to be done, but at the same time, enjoy doing that business, not be stressed out. Otherwise, it will be waste.
Keeping it all in perspective and juggling all the different priorities that you've got, and just living a balanced life. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah. I mean, art has been great. I mean, with this pandemic right now, with the situation, I think we creative people, this is the time when most of us can thank our creative skills for keeping us engaged and keeping us happy and occupied, while a lot of people don't have that luxury.
That's partly why I'm doing these interviews, is to keep a connection with people I respect and friends, and I want to learn more about what they're thinking. So best of luck, my friend, and we will stay in touch and maybe do this again one day and see how it's progressing.
Sounds good. I would love to do that. Hopefully, I'll be able to share some new stuff. This is more like accountability as well, knowing that I might have to talk to you years from now.
Yeah. All right. I'll hold you to it. All right.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Rajiv. See you later.